All right, welcome to a quick flash emergency episode of Step Brother Sports. I'm Chris Maz, and Shawnee V, SV, he is actually out in Las Vegas covering the NHL draft this year, and it was a pretty unique opportunity. He got to see a lot of cool introductions and speeches and moments from the draft. Sean, tell us a little bit more about what you've seen there so far.
Yeah, it was a really cool first day. Um, Interestingly enough, in my one of my day jobs, I have a hotel that I work with, and it's off the strip, but it's only about zero point 0.6 miles from the Sphere where the draft took place. So it was about a 10-minute walk. Granted, it was about 108 degrees today.
I was going to say you didn't melt too much when you went.
Yeah, I made sure that I walked at a pretty brisk rate so that I was able to get there before I was sweating too much. But it was cool. It was very cool to get to the Sphere. Not a ton in the way of things in Las Vegas or in and around the Strip that suggests that the draft is happening. But once you got close to like the block where the Sphere is, you could start to see definite signs of NHL, the draft and fandom, and you're starting to see all types of fans by the dozens walking in with pretty much every team jersey being represented. I saw a couple Sabres was able to get a picture with a couple of people that were repping a Tage Thompson jersey and a couple other players. But it was cool. It was a very unique and interesting venue. Was the first thing I noticed, having never been to the Sphere. Obviously, just the shape of the venue, you're kind of like, the surroundings on the inside and like the graphics during the picks were awesome. It was pretty interactive. Some of the kind of cool features that they had, and a couple of the other cool things they had some special, famous cameos as far as people that were making picks on behalf of teams. The first pick, Macklin Celebrini, Joe Thornton, one of the best Sharks to ever do it and lace them up. He made that first pick.
I'm
Recently,
sure that got the crowd going.
yeah, absolutely. Recently crowned as of last night, Connor Bedard, Rookie of the Year in the NHL. He was making Chicago the second overall pick. It was cool to see him, especially he was just there last night receiving his award for the Calder Trophy. So he's obviously in town anyway.
Hey, it just worked
cool.
out.
Yeah, cool that they let him do that. And then just two random ones that one of which was pretty cool. Celine Dion, who I guess had just gone through a bunch of health related, issues, looked really good. I guess, I don't really know too much about her besides, her career and what she's done in the past. As far as what she's done, I guess, lately, I don't know if she's been touring or whatnot because of her health, but she looked in really good spirits and looked pretty healthy up there and announced the 5th pick for Montreal.
I know that made all of Canada happy there, including Lindy himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Lindy even, and we'll talk about this too probably later. When Lindy ended up making the Sabres pick at 14, he mentioned how cool it was to share a stage with Celine Dion. So that was awesome. And then actually, my favorite moment of the first round was at Philadelphia, who for whatever reason decided to trade one spot down and give up a 3rd round pick in the future. Ended up kind of redeeming themselves, which I thought was kind of a questionable move. They had Michael Buffer, and now it's the pick in true Michael Buffer fashion, which was pretty cool. So a couple of interesting kind of cool things to see in the first. But as far as some of the players go, maybe a few. I think it was the 2nd pick overall. I can't remember the player's name, but he looked shocked to be picked 2nd overall. So just a couple interesting things like that as far as some of the players go. A few of the players I think fell a little bit down, and you have to understand every team has a much different draft board than their other teams in the league. So that's just some of what happened on day one. Yeah, but we'll be looking forward to get back there tomorrow for day 2.
Yeah. Again, it's awesome that you've had the opportunity to go there. I know you'll be able to cover a lot tomorrow for rounds 2 through 7 as well. And I know it's an early start for you tomorrow too. I mean, we're on Eastern time. That's not going to start till 11:30. It's going to start at 8:30 in the morning over in Vegas for you. That's going to be rough.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is tomorrow, at least I have to get up early. The Sabres, with the trade that we had made, we actually picked back-to-back in the 2nd round, which is cool.
I mean, it helps, yeah, with 42 and 43. But more importantly, let's talk about what the Sabres ended up doing tonight. They made their pick, maybe much to the disappointment with the fan base, but at the same time, the player they got is what's looking to be pretty universally applauded in Konsta Helenius, a center, 5'11", 190 pounds, out of McKellen, Finland. Played the last 2 seasons in Liiga. A couple more things about him. He's played professionally since age 16. He had 36 points in 51 games played this past season. That would be 14 goals, 22 assists. Another important thing about him is he had the most points scored by a 17-year-old player in the Liiga since Alexander Barkov and Patrick Laine. So some pretty good pedigree where he's coming from. And as a lot of people already know about Liiga, like that is a league where it's mostly grown men. And a lot of these prospects, they're trying to make their way, fight for everything they can get as far as ice time goes. And the fact that Helenius was able to put up numbers like that, it's already pretty promising signs.
Yeah, Liiga, and then obviously the other one that a lot of the top prospects come out of Europe is the SHL in Sweden. So those are the top 2 leagues where those players, before they're coming over to the U.S., they're already playing with men. And a guy like Helenius, he's putting up numbers. And I know they don't sound like crazy numbers, but there's actually metrics and charts that suggest how those numbers would equate the NHL equivalency scale. It's pretty decent numbers. If you put him in, into the NHL, he compares favorably. So absolutely, it's a good pick.
Yeah, a couple more things that a few analysts and pundits are saying. Byron Bader from Sportsnet, TSN, and The Athletic, and also the creator of Hockey Prospecting. He had a blurb about the pick. It says Helenius played the whole year in the Liiga and saw really nice production there. Couple that with how young he is, he profiles very well into his charts and models for how he'll project as a professional. Not many look like this. He makes some comparisons to him being similar to William Nylander and Arturi Lehkonen. Some comparables. And for him to produce that well in a pro-European league and to also be born in the spring-summer season, all showing great signs. He recently just turned 18 last month in May. Helenius is well known for not having any distinct elite feature to his game. But again, Bader goes on to say, I think he's a sneaky, tremendous prospect and a great selection for Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I wanted to kind of just follow up on that you mentioned is just his size. Like we talked about it before going on here. He just turned 18 years old. He's already measuring at 5'11", 198 or so. So you're looking at a guy, he's going to continue to get bigger and fill out that frame.
Yeah, 190 right now, but again, like you're saying, he could fill out that frame.
Absolutely. I mean, you're gonna already have him, and it's going to depend on if he ends up staying, overseas or coming over to North America. I saw that in his initial press conference, he was mentioning that he's undecided about what he's going to be doing like next year. So there's a chance that he comes immediately over, but either way, he's going to get on. Whether he's in North America or he stays over in Finland, he's going to be on the Sabres weight training and nutrition program. He's going to be a big boy. Like he's already this big. There's a good chance he's going to be almost like a power forward type of size. Maybe he gets up to 6 foot, 1 or 2 and gets up well over like 215, 220.
There's a chance you could also see time in Rochester this year, depending on how things go.
Absolutely. And a couple other things just to kind of follow up with what you were mentioning. I saw, and not only did I see this on Twitter, but also talked to a couple people there at the Sphere that had a little bit of background on him. There was at least 3 or 4 main NHL pundits nationally that had him ranked as a top 5 player in this draft. A player with a lot of top 6 upside, both, two-way player, offensive and defensively. And I wanted to actually pull something up from Patrick Bacon, a recent colleague who I've just become acquainted with. He had a chart based on elite prospects and the metrics that basically give him at this point a 98% chance of becoming an NHL player and all the way up to an 81% chance of becoming a star player. And this is what I was talking about with the NHL equivalency timeline. So that's pretty cool. If you have a second to check out Patrick Bacon, who posted that, I also reposted it on my X page as well, which we can give out later. But yeah, all things considered, he seems like he's a really solid pick.
I mean, despite, again, Sabres trading back to 14 after the draft pick trade yesterday with San Jose, again, like things are looking like a positive outlook for the Helenius pick here. But on the flip side of things is now there seems to be a little bit more pressure for Kevin Adams to potentially make more roster trades here. And if you're looking at the pipeline, now, by adding Konsta Helenius, you now have 5 forwards in your prospect pipeline that are higher end prospects. With now you have Savoy, Kulik, Roseanne, Oslin, and now Helenius. 4 out of those 5 are centermen, and Roseanne being the only winger. But at the same time, like it's like we've been already alluding to in our previous 2 episodes, it's go time for Kevin Adams, and you could already tell that there's many impatient Sabres fans just across the fandom, and people want to see moves. People want to see action. I mean, obviously, free agency doesn't start and open until July 1st on Monday, but still, like people were expecting to see, like again, a draft day trade that 14th overall pick, that first round pick for this year, could have been used as a trade chip. I mean, there was even chatter on the actual ESPN broadcast. Like John Butchgrass was saying, "Oh man, I'm hearing they're desperately trying to trade this thing." I mean, like that's not something you really want to hear right off the bat. And even you yourself said you saw Adams on the phone constantly while they were trying to make that pick.
Yeah, right before they went up, before it flashed across the stage that the pick was in. Adams was on and off the phone like the whole 3 minutes that that their time that's allotted to them to basically select who they're going to select. So that, and I know you and I were texting back and forth and saying like he is on the phone. So I don't know. It would seem to me that they were maybe trying to move the pick. I mean, I don't know why else you would be on the phone when like you chances are if you're going to make the pick, who you're going to select at that spot. So it seems like even down to like the very end, like they were considering moving the pick. And one thing I wanted to follow up with something that you said earlier with Helenius now in the fold. And you mentioned that center, pipeline in terms of prospect. One guy I think he compares, pretty favorably to and might have a little bit more in the way of scoring touch, being a top, 6 type of center with the two-way game. He kind of reminds me of Noah Oslin. They kind of seem like a little bit of a redundant type player. So I wonder if they end up, maybe flipping Oslin as part of a package to get, an established NHL center in the door.
I'm sure he'd be at least part of a package then, but at the same time, you have a glut of centermen, and like we were saying before, patience is thinner than it ever has been now, not only with 13 years and just this lack of inaction from Kevin Adams. And you don't want him to turn into Darcy Regier, where the only first-round pick he traded for was for Dinas Zubris in 2007. And you also don't want him to be overly aggressive in the form of Tim Murray, but at the same time, like people want to see action. And right now it's leaving a lot of alarm bells going off for people. And again, with how the year is projecting, like you want to see more from Kevin Adams, but you don't know what he may have already tried to do behind the scenes. You don't know if maybe that Carolina potential trade with Martin Necas, maybe that was one of the things that fell through while the draft was going on throughout this first round. I believe they're on pick 32 or pick 31 or 32. I think I saw the Leafs just going off the board a moment ago. But again, you have multiple picks in round 2. And round 3, you have 1 pick. I know they have multiple now in round 5, thanks to the Kyle Okposo trade now becoming a 5th round pick. But again, you have ammunition to make some moves. But at the same time, I mean, everybody knows Adams needs to make something happen, or it's going to be a lot of continued dire times for the fan base here. Just the overall doom and gloom feeling, which obviously we don't want to have. I mean, again, you hope to see some action be done tomorrow, but it's hard to be hopeful if you were looking to see a trade tonight.
Yeah, I think that, there is a pretty decent chance that if they were going to make a trade, I think there's a high likelihood that it happens tomorrow just because of the sheer number of picks that we have. We have so many that, and plus in the first round, I think a lot of the players, or a lot of the teams rather, in the first round, they have all their scouts do that work, all season into the off season for a year, basically leading up. They want to make those picks if they can. So I think when you get into, the second round, we have now even an extra second pick and back to back. Maybe we package both those picks. Maybe we use one of them and trade something else. But the one thing I don't want to see us do is get to a point when the draft is over tomorrow and we're going to be solely reliant on free agency.
Yeah, and we've already seen it's been difficult to attract free agents unless you're going to overpay. I mean, we saw some rumors out there that, again, by Chad Gidominis of Expected Buffalo, that the Sabres may try and take a swing at Stamkos. Would that be spectacular? Absolutely. But again, without a significant overpay, I mean, you just, it's very slim chances of that happening. Same thing you could even say, you mentioned on our previous episode about Patrick Kane. You got to offer him either some additional dollars or some term, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get people here, because not only are the Sabres fighting an uphill battle with just the state of affairs that they're in, but at the same time, New York State itself makes it difficult to attract free agents with the high taxes that you have to pay.
Oh, I know it.
Oh, yeah.
I can attest to that from Mr. Stamkos that Florida, the lack of state income taxes is pretty awesome. So, if we do end up taking a big swing and offering some money, that is a big factor. When you're talking about offering a guy $8, $9, $10 million, whatever it is, a large amount, that's a big chunk of that he's going to have to pay to state taxes in New York. That sucks.
And not to mention, he's 34, and you want to see him, if he is going to potentially come to a place like Buffalo, you want to see the term and the dollars spent on him just to get him here. But then let's just live in the dream world where he does sign, and the leadership qualities he could bring. He's a centerman. He could totally change the entire outlook of the lineup. You could move Tage to second line center, Cousins to third line center. I mean, him being in the lineup would do wonders, not only just for how you want to set your forward group, but again, just as a locker room presence, that championship pedigree, and just the constant production he's had throughout his entire career. He would just be an instant lift for the entire franchise.
Yep. Shout out to my buddy Brandon Wachowski. He's a huge diehard Sabres fan and a diehard Stammer fan, and I know he would lose his mind if they brought in Stammer. I'm telling you right now.
I mean, people would be cheering at the Plaza if he was able to sign. I mean, quite honestly. I mean, you might not be able to say the same for somebody like Patrick Kane with his kind of mixed history with Buffalo, but at the same time, I know he has plenty of other people wanting him to make his return home as well. So you can only hope with just things on the horizon next week that free agents will want to come here. But again, Kevin Adams needs to hit the gas pedal and show some aggressiveness just in order to make this happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But any other additional thoughts before we wrap this up here, SV?
No. Like I said, I'm going to try to get some rest tonight. I'm still a little jet lagged from flying in the other day. But, I'll be up and at it bright and early tomorrow. Would love to have anybody that's interested in the draft and what the Sabres are doing. Please tune into my X page. I was really ripping and roaring all day during round one today, pretty much tweeting out every post, videos, live pictures every time there was something of newsworthy and of note. So be sure to follow me for any live updates. My X page is at SVTheDon NHL.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And then if you want to follow anything that I am posting regarding our show, as well as any content that the Sabres are giving out or just some takes, you can also find me on Twitter or the X platform at CFMAZ. And again, if we see some action coming our way with whether it be trades or some free agent pickups in the next coming days as well. We will be here for you. Again, Sean, have yourself a good night in Vegas, and we will be talking to you guys soon.
Talk to you guys soon. Cheers. Go Sabres.